The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Assembly hummed with tension as emergency alerts cascaded across holographic displays. High Counselor Keth's scaled hands gripped the edges of his command throne, yellow eyes narrowing as he studied the incoming data streams. Around the circular chamber, representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations whispered in hushed tones, their usual confident demeanor replaced by uncertainty. "Explain this anomaly." Keth's voice rumbled through the chamber's acoustic enhancers. His reptilian species, the Vorthak, had dominated galactic politics for 3 millennia through careful observation and strategic patience. Nothing in the known galaxy escaped their notice. Until now. Admiral Crix Mort, a towering insectoid from the militant Galactic Empire, clicked his mandibles nervously as he approached the central display. His forearms manipulated holographic controls with practiced precision, bringing up the troubling sensor readings that had triggered this emergency session. The energy signatures originated from the Terran outer colonies, specifically the Kepler 442 system. Crix's translated voice buzzed through the chamber's speakers. Initial scans suggested a standard human mining operation. However, deeper analysis reveals power outputs that rival our capital shipyards. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The humans had been granted membership in the galactic community only 73 years ago, making them the youngest species by centuries. Their primitive fusion technology and crude faster-than-light drives had been amusing curiosities, tolerated because of their enthusiasm and surprising diplomatic skills. The idea that they could generate industrial-level energy on par with ancient civilizations seemed impossible. "Perhaps their equipment is malfunctioning," suggested Counselor Vith of the Ethereal Luminari. Her species existed partially in energy form, making them experts in power generation. Human technology has always been unstable. Remember the incident with their first embassy ship? Several representatives chuckled, recalling how the human vessel had arrived at the galactic capital trailing sparks and leaking coolant, held together by what humans called duct tape and determination. It had become a running joke among the more sophisticated species. But Keth wasn't laughing. His species had survived countless galactic upheavals by never underestimating potential threats. The sensor data told a different story than the one everyone wanted to believe. "Show me the detailed scans," he commanded. The holographic display expanded, revealing the Kepler 442 system in stunning detail. What should have been a handful of mining stations scattered across a few asteroids instead showed something far more complex. Massive structures moved through the asteroid belt, their energy signatures blazing like miniature stars. "By the void!" whispered Admiral Crix, his compound eyes processing the data faster than most species could think. "Those aren't mining stations. They're shipyards, massive ones." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just been quietly mining asteroids for decades. They had been hollowing them out, turning them into mobile construction facilities. What appeared to be a scattered collection of small outposts was actually a coordinated network of shipbuilding operations on a scale that rivaled the greatest civilizations in galactic history. Keth's claws extended involuntarily, a sign of deep unease among his people. "How many ships have they constructed?" Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed the sensor data through multiple analysis programs. The numbers that came back made his exoskeleton rattle. Conservative estimates suggest over 12,000 vessels of various sizes. The largest appear to be Dreadnought class, though their design signatures are unlike anything in our databases. 12,000 ships. The entire Galactic Assembly fleet numbered barely 8,000, and that represented the combined military might of 47 advanced civilizations accumulated over millennia. The humans in less than a century had apparently built a fleet that outnumbered them by 50%. "This is impossible," declared Counselor Ilex of the technologically superior Quantum Collective. "Human industrial capacity couldn't support such construction. Their metallurgy is primitive, their energy systems inefficient. They barely understand quantum mechanics." But even as he spoke, the evidence continued to pour in. Long-range sensors detected movement throughout the system, Ships were launching from asteroid facilities, their thermal signatures indicating active fusion cores, not the small, controlled reactions that powered human civilian vessels, but massive, sustained burns that suggested military-grade propulsion systems. Keth stood slowly, his imposing frame casting shadows across the chamber floor. At nearly 3 meters tall with scales that had darkened with age and wisdom, he commanded respect from even the most arrogant species. We have made an error in judgment, a critical one. The Assembly members shifted uncomfortably. The Galactic Assembly prided itself on superior intelligence and comprehensive surveillance. The idea that a primitive species had been conducting massive military construction under their noses was deeply disturbing. I recommend immediate dispatch of a reconnaissance fleet, Admiral Crick suggested. We need to assess the true scope of human capabilities before they become a threat to galactic stability. They already are a threat, Keth replied grimly. The question is whether they know it yet. Deep in the Kepler 442 system, Commander Thane Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the completion of humanity's greatest achievement. The Iron Harvest barely resembled a traditional starship. Built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, its hull was a patchwork of salvaged materials, recycled components, and innovative engineering solutions that would have made alien designers weep. But it worked. More than worked, it excelled. Captain Nova, report from the outer perimeter. Thane called to his second-in-command. Captain Zara Nova had spent 20 years turning asteroids into starships, her background as a mining engineer proving invaluable in humanity's unconventional approach to space warfare. Where alien civilizations built sleek, specialized vessels in massive orbital shipyards, humans had learned to adapt and improvise. Every asteroid became a potential warship, every mining operation a cover for military expansion. Long-range sensors are picking up alien vessels approaching the system boundary, Zara reported, her weathered face showing no concern. Looks like our little secret is out. Thane nodded calmly. They had always known this day would come. Humanity's rapid expansion and unconventional methods couldn't remain hidden forever. The other galactic powers had tolerated them as long as they seemed harmless. But a fleet of 12,000 warships was hardly harmless. Dr. Watanabe, are the new fusion cores ready for combat testing? Dr. Jin Watanabe looked up from his console, excitement gleaming in his eyes. The elderly scientist had spent his entire career pushing the boundaries of human engineering, turning theoretical impossibilities into practical realities. The Mark 7 cores are operating at 115% of designed capacity. We're generating more power per ton than anything in the galactic databases. It was typical of human engineering. Take something that barely worked, push it beyond safe limits, then find ways to make it work anyway. While alien civilizations pursued perfection through careful design and advanced materials, humans achieved the impossible through determination, creativity, and a willingness to embrace controlled chaos. The approaching alien fleet represented everything humanity had been fighting against since reaching the stars. Species that viewed them as inferior, civilizations that had achieved greatness through millennia of gradual progress, powers that believed the galaxy belonged to those who had claimed it first. But humanity had learned something during their brief time among the stars. The galaxy's great civilizations had grown comfortable in their superiority. They had forgotten what it meant to struggle, to adapt, to overcome impossible odds through sheer stubborn refusal to accept defeat. All stations, prepare for contact, Thane commanded. Let's show them what human ingenuity can accomplish. Across the asteroid belt, 12,000 ships began powering up their fusion cores. Each vessel was unique, built from whatever materials were available, designed around human creativity rather than alien doctrine. They were ugly, improvised, and absolutely deadly. The galactic community was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to turn disadvantages into advantages, to make the impossible work through determination and unconventional thinking. The age of human ascendancy was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The sleek alien reconnaissance fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 4042 system, their polished hulls gleaming against the starfield. Admiral Crix Mort commanded the formation from his flagship, a marvel of Zerathi engineering that represented 3,000 years of technological refinement. Beside him, ships from a dozen other species formed a perfect tactical formation, their crews confident in their technological superiority. "Maintain standard approach vector," Crix commanded, his 4 arms working the control interfaces with mechanical precision. These humans may have built more ships than expected, but quantity cannot overcome quality. High Counselor Keith observed from his personal vessel, a crystalline construct that phased partially between dimensions. His reptilian instincts screamed warnings that his logical mind tried to dismiss. Something felt wrong about this entire situation, but he couldn't identify what. "Initial scans confirm the presence of multiple vessels," reported Battle Coordinator Nix, a cybernetic being whose species had replaced most biological functions with quantum processors. "However, the energy signatures are unusual." On the tactical display, the human fleet appeared as a scattered collection of irregular shapes drifting through the asteroid belt. To alien eyes accustomed to the geometric perfection of advanced starship design, the human vessels looked like floating scrap heaps held together by hope and stubbornness. "Pathetic," sneered Commander Vorth of the elegant Celestial Dominion. His ship was a work of art, its hull crafted from metamaterials that shifted color with the ship's emotional resonance systems. Do they seriously expect those abominations to function in combat? But as the alien fleet drew closer, strange details became apparent. The human ships weren't just ugly. They were actively defying conventional engineering principles. Sections of hull that should have been structural weaknesses instead seemed to serve multiple functions. What appeared to be random patches of armor were actually sophisticated sensor arrays disguised as repairs. Commander Thane Vex stood calmly on the bridge of the Iron Harvest, watching the alien formation approach with the confidence of someone who had planned for this moment his entire career. Around him, his crew worked with the efficient chaos that characterized human operations, controlled disorder that somehow produced better results than rigid alien protocols. "Chief Engineer Tanaka, how are our new modifications performing?" Thane asked. Chief Engineer Roku Tanaka grinned from his position at the engineering console, his hands dancing across controls that were labeled in 7 different languages and held together with what aliens would recognize as primitive adhesive compounds. "The adaptive armor plating is responding beautifully, sir. Each impact will make us stronger, and the modular design means we can reconfigure mid-battle if needed." Captain Zara Nova monitored the tactical situation from her position, her mining, engineer background giving her insights that traditional military officers might miss. "Their formation is textbook perfect," she observed, "which means it's predictable. They're expecting us to engage according to established galactic warfare doctrine." "Good thing we never read that manual," Thane replied with a slight smile. First communication attempt came from Admiral Crix, broadcast on standard galactic frequencies with the authority of someone accustomed to immediate compliance. "Human vessels, you are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare for inspection. By authority of the Galactic Assembly, you are suspected of unauthorized military expansion." Thane considered the message for exactly 3 seconds before responding. "This is Commander Thane Vex of the Terran Defense Initiative. You are entering human territorial space without invitation. I suggest you reconsider your approach." The response sent ripples of disbelief through the alien fleet. No species had ever refused a direct order from the Galactic Assembly, especially not one as young and supposedly primitive as humanity. "They dare to threaten us?" Admiral Crix's mandibles clicked with indignation. "Open fire, disable their engines, and show them the price of defiance." The alien fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage that would have crippled any known vessel design. Particle beams, plasma cannons, and quantum disruptors lit up the void with destructive energy. The aliens watched confidently as their weapons struck the lead human ship, expecting to see the satisfying explosion of an overmatched enemy. Instead, something impossible happened. The Iron Harvest absorbed the incoming fire like a hungry beast, its patchwork hull seeming to drink in the energy. Sections that were hit didn't explode or vaporize, they adapted. Armor plating shifted and reformed, creating new configurations optimized for the specific types of weapons being used against it. "What in the void?" whispered Battle Coordinator Nix, her quantum processors struggling to analyze what they were witnessing. Dr. Jin Watanabe monitored the ship's responses from his engineering station. Decades of research finally proving their worth in combat. "Reactive metamaterials are functioning perfectly," he reported. "Each hit is teaching our hull how to better resist that specific weapon type. We're literally becoming immune to their attacks in real time." But the true shock came when the humans returned fire. Instead of the elegant energy weapons favored by advanced civilizations, the human ships launched what appeared to be crude kinetic projectiles, simple chunks of metal accelerated to tremendous velocities by magnetic railguns. To alien sensibilities, it was like being attacked with stone knives and clubs, until those primitive projectiles started hitting. The first alien ship to be struck was Commander Vorth's artistic masterpiece. The kinetic round punched through, his advanced shields as if they weren't there. The metamaterial hull that could withstand energy weapons offering no resistance to simple mass traveling at relativistic speeds. The ship didn't just explode, it disintegrated, torn apart by forces that its sophisticated design had never been intended to handle. Impossible. Vorth's final transmission cut off as his vessel became an expanding cloud of exotic matter. The alien formation began to waver as more kinetic rounds found their targets. Ships that had survived conflicts with energy weapons for millennia were being destroyed by what amounted to advanced bullets. Their shields, designed to deflect or absorb energy, were useless against solid matter moving at significant fractions of light speed. Chief Engineer Tanaka couldn't suppress his excitement as he monitored the battle. "The beauty of kinetic weapons is their simplicity," he explained to anyone listening. "No exotic particles to counter, no energy frequencies to absorb, just good old-fashioned mass and velocity doing what physics demands." Admiral Crix found himself in the impossible position of watching his technologically superior fleet being systematically dismantled by opponents who shouldn't have posed any threat. "All ships, evasive maneuvers, target their weapon systems." But the human ships were already adapting again. Instead of maintaining formation like proper military vessels, they began operating like a swarm, each ship covering others while they reconfigured their loadouts. Weapons that had been kinetic railguns suddenly transformed into missile launchers. Ships that had been heavily armored suddenly became fast attack craft. "They're modular," realized High Counselor Kith, his scaled face reflecting genuine admiration despite the circumstances. "Every ship can become any type of vessel depending on battlefield requirements. They're not following any doctrine because they're inventing tactics in real time." Captain Zara Nova coordinated the human response with the efficiency of someone who had spent decades making impossible engineering projects work. "Mining teams Alpha through Delta. Initiate asteroid bombardment protocols. Show them what we learned from moving mountains." The aliens watched in horror as several human ships approached nearby asteroids, not to take cover behind them, but to accelerate them directly at the alien fleet. Massive chunks of rock, some several kilometers across, began moving with the same inexorable precision that had once served human mining operations. "They're using asteroids as weapons," Battle Coordinator Nix reported, her voice tinged with something approaching respect. Crude, but devastatingly effective. The alien fleet found itself caught between kinetic bombardment from the human ships and massive asteroid projectiles that their weapons couldn't destroy quickly enough. Ships began falling back, their commanders finally understanding that they were facing something entirely outside their experience. Commander Thane Vex watched the alien retreat with satisfaction but no surprise. Humanity had learned long ago that conventional wisdom was often just an excuse for not thinking creatively. While other species had perfected existing technologies, humans had focused on making impossible things work through determination and unconventional approaches. "All ships, hold position," he commanded. "Let them report back to their superiors. It's time the galaxy understood that humanity doesn't play by anyone else's rules." As the surviving alien vessels limped away from the Kepler 442 system, They carried with them a message that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The young species they had dismissed as primitive engineers had revealed themselves to be something far more dangerous. Innovative warriors who turned limitations into advantages and made the impossible work through sheer human stubbornness. Hi. Counselor Keth's final transmission to the Galactic Assembly was brief but profound. We have encountered something unprecedented. The humans have not simply built a fleet, they have redefined what a fleet can be. I recommend immediate diplomatic contact. We cannot afford to have such creativity as our enemy. In the depths of space, the human fleet continued its work, turning asteroids into warships and impossibilities into realities. The galaxy had finally learned what humanity had always known, that the greatest victories come not from following the rules, but from writing new ones.